All right, welcome to Creator Conversation. I'm Eric, and formerly known as Study Tips. Today we're talking to Tom here. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for having me, Eric. I'm doing great. For the people that don't know me, do you want me to introduce myself, or
Yeah,
are you
please
giving
do.
me
Please
an
do.
introduction?
You can introduce yourself. That would be
Okay,
great.
sweet, sweet. So my name is Tom Vorselen. I'm 25 years old, living in Amsterdam, and I created my educational Instagram at the Study Coach last year in May. I've been working really hard on it. Recently grew it to 200,000 today. So that's
Oh,
cool.
congrats.
And looking forward to this chat, man. I'm really excited.
Yeah, so as you said, you got 200K followers today, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's awesome. What would you say is like the main reason for your quick success?
I wasn't quick, in my opinion.
Like,
So I started the account in May, the 16th of May, 2023. I've tried basically all kinds of content that you can think of. I did spoken videos for almost 4 months.
yeah,
Um, I did a lot of comments on other study related accounts just to increase visibility. And then in October, we made a switch in the content that we created. So no more speaking videos and more short form content. And from that point, it started to grow like rapidly because we were shown more on the For You pages and stuff like that. So I wouldn't say it was an overnight. From 0 to
yeah.
6,000 took 6 months. And then from 6,000 to, 200,000, 2 months.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that is like it's you need to push through those first like 1,000 followers, and then once you actually like it gets speed, it can like go from 0 to 100 in like a second. Um, so yeah, that's awesome. You said on call that you work with like coaching in other fields. Before. Could you tell us like about your background, if you did content before this account, or how has your journey been?
Yeah. So it's good to know that I did a bachelor's in teaching and coaching, which was mainly sports related. So I learned a lot about behavioral sciences, um, how to present, how to stand in front of groups, how to deal with people who are not willing to get outside of the comfort zone, kind of how to coach them through that. So I
Yeah.
did 4 years of my bachelor's in that. Um, then I did a master's in global business and sustainability management, where I came up with the business idea of what I'm doing right now, but none of my peer students found it a good idea,
Yeah.
or they didn't see the value of it. So I thought, okay, let's just do this on my own, and I combined kind of the knowledge from my bachelor's and my master's, and then started working towards it.
Okay. Yeah. Um, and with your like your success on these in these recent months, like when did you actually see that it worked? Like, was it like one video where you saw like, oh, this is like how you make content that blows up?
Ooh, I'm going to be honest with you. I invested in a course that shared like, hey, this is a different way of creating content, because I'm a huge fan of not figuring out the wheel yourself, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah.
The same with learning. Like I learned how to learn from a mentor. He taught me how to do this properly. And the same goes with everything in life. If you want to see better results in the gym, you go to a personal trainer. If you want
Yeah.
to see better results in your business, you should like, in my opinion, you should work with someone who has the experience in it, so that you don't have to make all the mistakes that they did. So we invested in a course, and then we saw the shift in the growth.
Okay, yeah. Do you find it like hard to come up with new video ideas, or how is that process for you?
I would say in the beginning it was hard just to see like kind of which topics are relatable. But by now, like almost a year later, you know which content does well. You see which content other creators are posting that gets a lot of engagement, and then I often try to just share my personal story regarding that. So yeah, at the moment it's more like, okay, sharing what works, looking back and analyzing your own content, what works well, and then then remake that. Like when we look at your
Yeah,
account, it's the same shot with different
yeah,
information, right?
yeah,
So it works.
yeah, yeah. It's like when you find that winning like key, you just double down on what works, and you see progress from there.
Yeah,
So yeah,
because Eric, I'm
definitely agree.
curious. Uh, if I can ask, like the same questions for you. Like, when did you start, and um, how did you come up that this format, how you are creating it right now, works for you?
Yeah, so I started 2022, late 2022 probably.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 years ago, 1.5 years ago. Um, and like I did some content where I just showcased my favorite study techniques, but not like any read caption posts. And then I saw some like travel creator upload like a post saying the three best travel destinations when you're on a budget. And
Yeah,
and it was like, oh, read caption. And it had like 2 million likes or something like that. And I was like, how can they have that? Um, so I made some research, and like Instagram had recently dropped a new like update where they did like SEO updates. So if you search on something, it won't just come up with a hashtag, but a bunch of content that maybe doesn't have the hashtag shows up. So I just made a read caption post. It went well, and I figured I can display so much more information um, and reach a larger audience through like a simpler way of making videos. So it was a win-win. Um,
nice.
so yeah, that was basically my um, like my way of doing it. But like
Yeah.
content creation is like you look at other creators and then you mimic, but you do it in your own way. Um, that's like how you do it, basically, I would say. But how did you like? What was the process for you, like developing your own type of style?
Mm, so, like I said, we've tried out basically everything I think that
Yeah,
you can as a creator, from carousels to single posts to spoken videos to short form content. Um, and then at one point, my business partner, he said like, we need more aesthetic content. And I'm
yeah,
going to be honest with you, like I was like, I don't know how to create this. I don't know if that's something for me. But then with my video editor, we spent like a whole day shooting a bunch of content, and he started to work on these different videos. And then we
yeah,
figured out like, okay, this is actually pretty cool. It works out. Um, we kind of combine the knowledge from other creators with our own experience, give it a twist with my videos, and yeah, it started to reach the right people, to say so.
okay. Do you see, because you do coaching as well, study coaching, um, have you seen like a linear rise where when your followers have started to go up, have you seen your coaching calls go up as well? Or how has that been looking?
Yeah, yeah. I think like I was from the beginning. So for your idea, I've been doing the coaching since approximately January last year, with the business concept. But then we moved that to reaching people outside of my private kind of network with social media. So then I continuously had 6, 7 one-on-one students. But then in the end of December, when the following grew to, well, almost 50, 60,000, I also had an increase. I had 5 new students signing up within a week time. So yes, with the growth, definitely also comes the demand for help and the opportunity to help out the students. And they come from everywhere, like signing up from Canada to Saudi Arabia, the UK, Germany. I believe you're from Sweden, right?
Yeah.
I haven't had a student from Sweden yet, but
Maybe soon.
maybe soon. Yeah.
Yeah. So like you do a lot of promotions, I guess, for your coaching, but have you done collaborations with other brands, like maybe products and made videos for them?
Yeah, in the beginning I did. I worked together with a Canadian company that promotes mental health for students, and that was almost in the beginning. But just recently, we just said we solely focus on our own personal brand, just to get that running first before we dive into further collaborations. Because if we talk about focus, which means follow one course until success, we shouldn't be dividing our attention on too many different things than first growing our own project before I want to look into potential other collaborations and see how we can provide more value.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's also good that you have like your own way of. It's more nice to advertise your own products than others as well. It gives you like your own impact. But when it comes to your coaching, what do you say like is your differentiator from other one-on-one coaching?
Oh, that's a good question. I think, being super honest with you, Eric, I think the relatability, just the fact like I graduated my master's, 2 years ago. So that's still fresh. I know what it's like to study in COVID. I know what it's like to study with social media, quick dopamine hits from scrolling on Instagram, and all those kind of things, and how to deal with that. Where maybe, and I'm not saying that's true, but the older coaches in the field, they haven't been studying maybe for like 30 years, and maybe can't relate that well to the students, if that makes sense. But that's an assumption, and I'm always cautious with assumptions. But I find that that's what is really valuable to the students that I work with right now.
Yeah, definitely. And also that you have your following, it gives you some sort of authenticity and reliability. And have you seen, like, I guess you take calls with your students before to see if it's a good fit. Do you see creators, or not creators, do you see the students being more receptive to your tips and tricks now when you have a larger following base?
I don't think I see the difference. In the beginning, my following was really engaged already. So the people that I had, they commented and they said, "Hey, this was valuable. This was helpful." So I think that is still on the same level. The only benefit is that we're now reaching more people, so we're able to help out more. Yeah. I think it's still being perceived at the same kind of value, and that they thank us for what we do.
Yeah. And with your students, what is like what is your way of teaching them how to get better? Or could you run us through your one-on-one coaching in detail?
Yeah, yeah, sure. So um, the most important thing is that I always work with students for a minimum of 3 months. And the reason is that behavioral change is not going to happen overnight or in like one or
Yeah,
two single sessions. So I want them to, the main thing is I let them do a lot of things themselves. I give them homework, and well, they can access me via WhatsApp if they have any questions regarding that. So what we normally do is we have a call and we go over their wins. So what went really well. So this could be
yeah,
students acing their exams, being fully hyped up, super enthusiastic. And then we look at their challenges. And that could be, for example, hey, man, I got this new exam coming up, or I'm still struggling with my time management. How can we improve that? Give them some homework. For example, create a schedule, create a second brain in Notion or on Calendar. Send it to me, send screenshots, and I'll give you feedback. That way, they are doing it themselves with my help. And that way, they will also be able to continue doing that after the 3 months that we work together.
yeah,
Because I want to create something that, well, sticks with them for the rest of their lives, basically, because that's how it also benefited me.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And also with your students, do you have any, like, not trouble, but maybe do you have students that are less ambitious and have a harder time adapting to these new strategies and tips that you give them? Or how do you handle that?
Mm. Yeah, and that's where the first conversation comes in place to see if it's a good fit.
Yeah,
Because I don't work with everyone. I want to work with people that are serious about their goals. So I always ask them, hey, are you willing to get outside of your comfort zone? Because if you're not, then we're not a good fit. Are you someone who's willing to listen and to try things out? So are you coachable? And are you ready to take action? Because working with me doesn't mean it's going to be a walk in the park.
yeah,
It's going to require work to get the results.
yeah,
And if they can commit to these three things, yes, then I'm willing to work with them, and we see the results. And I'm going to be honest, I've also had students that didn't show up for the calls, didn't do the homework, and then within a short period, I just tell them like, we're not going to continue with our coaching anymore because I want you to see results, but if you're not putting in the work, like, we're not going to get the
yeah,
results, and it's a waste of both of our time, and I don't want that.
yeah. So yeah, do you have like any success story or memorable moment with a student that you had past?
Um, I want to say only success, but that's not the case.
Yeah,
Like, being honestly honest, 100% honest. Of course, we can't provide a magic pill. Is that
yeah,
what I
yeah,
always say? Otherwise, I would have been a multi-millionaire if I could solve everyone's issues. But just recently, I had a student from America, and he's doing a dentist bachelor, and he had a lot of problems. He stressed out a lot, many challenges, and he just passed 3 exams back to back, which he had never done before. He said, I passed one of my most challenging courses that everyone is afraid of.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, he was really excited. I called with him Saturday evening, and his energy hyped me up. I was like, yeah, this is what we want more of, and these kind of success stories.
Yeah, it must be really nice to like see your students actually delivering and doing like what you tell them to do and actually implementing them and then see results. Um,
Absolutely.
so yeah, do you have like any favorite tips or tricks that you always tell a student?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. Regarding studying, I would say if they can commit to the concept really basic of applying different retrieval practices, so learning by asking questions,
Yeah.
and in combination with some sort of spaced repetition. In my opinion, that those two could help you out in a lot. I still
Yeah.
apply that when I learn something myself. I read a book, I write down some questions, I try to explain it to my family or friends the same day when I read it. The next week, I try to create some content about it so that it kind of sticks in my brain. I think about it. Then I make a workshop or a video about it where I speak, and I do that on a continuous basis. And that way, I'm still learning myself with that system in place.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I guess with new educational trends and tips and tricks, how do you try to like research for new educational tips, or how is your way of working there?
Yeah. So I think you're also familiar with Justin Sung as a learning professional.
Yeah.
And I believe he had a conversation with a guy from Stanford um, regarding learning methods. And I'm always honest, like I teach what worked for me and what I've learned from those kind of resources. So, like I said, I had education from myself, from a doctorate in the field. I'm watching their videos. I'm seeing what they educate. I'm trying to implement it myself and see how it benefits me, and then I teach it. So I'm still learning from these guys
Yeah.
because I think, well, they know and they've done a whole study towards the topic. So um, just being vulnerable and honest with myself there, that I still have, still plenty of to learn, but I know how to learn. So let's
Yeah.
do it the right way.
Yeah. I mean, that is a good way of looking at it, because I see like there's a lot of study techniques and tips and tricks that get posted, and are like trends, for like a couple of months. But what's really working is like doing active recall, spaced repetition, and just doing the work. Like
Yeah.
it's quite simple when you actually know how to actually study well. It's quite simple. It's
What do you
just you need
think?
to.
What do you think is the secret to putting in the work?
I actually have no idea. I think I'm quite a motivated person just from the start. I haven't digged deep to find if there's like some underlying reason why I like to study and work. What do you think? Do you think like that everyone is born with different motivation and productivity, or yeah, how do you think about that?
Mm, so yeah, this is an interesting conversation because this goes deeper than just applying some learning methods. And I was
Yeah.
curious what your answer would be there. Um, because to be honest, it all comes down on your, and this sounds cliche, but your mindset.
Yeah.
If you don't have a strong reason or have the drive to complete something, um, you increase your chances of not being successful.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what I always say to my students is, I want you to write down a personal statement why this is important to you.
Yeah.
And I want you to repeat that statement once or twice a day minimum, because I do
Yeah.
that myself. Like I repeat why I'm building this company. During my masters, I repeated to myself on a not on a daily basis because I wasn't too much into that topic then, but I would ask myself, why am I putting in so many hours and acing this? It's because, okay, I'm here to learn and I want to get the most out of it. And I want
Yeah.
to eventually become an entrepreneur. And this school is exactly teaching me how to set up business plans, how to do your finances, how to do everything. So yeah, that's in my opinion, having a strong why is most important.
Yeah, definitely. Um, I feel like it's one thing when you see straight A students, like the best students in your class, because like everyone have a student like in their class that is really good, and maybe they want to be like them when it comes to their academic performances. And I had bad grades. They were horrible, to be frank. But like, it's a quite simple trick. You can like observe what the good students are doing, and try to like do what they do. And I found that like most of the straight A students, they aren't like super smart or anything like that. It's mostly their mindset, what it boils down to. If you just put in hours, like you will see results. Um, and I feel like maybe with your students, can it be hard to see, like, can it be hard to motivate them to actually put in the hours and do the work?
Yeah, for sure. Because there's something called the emotional cycle of change,
Yeah,
which means that when you start something new, you are really optimistic about it. So they are going to work with me. They're like, yeah, this is amazing.
yeah,
He's going to teach me these methods, blah blah blah. And then you start here. But eventually you'll notice that, well, it requires a lot of work. And then
yeah,
they fall down in the what we call valley of despair, where it's like, oh man, this is not working for me. It's taking so many hours. I can't do this. And the only thing that helps them is just take action and then trusting the
yeah,
process, following whatever we discuss. And I say, just keep doing it. Just keep doing it. It's not that hard. Just put in the hours, do the things. And then they get success. And then they're like, oh my God, this is amazing.
yeah,
But everybody goes through that cycle. If you've ever heard about it, you want to look it up. Emotional
yeah,
cycle
yeah,
of change. Um, yeah, so I always try to motivate them to go through that valley with as little resistance as possible.
yeah. I mean, it's a good way of looking at it as well. Like, you need to go through that some part of your life. I feel like, to actually know that like hard work isn't that fun. I I I fall into that trap a lot of times, like, oh, I should try this new thing, and then you get like pulled out to a different lane, and start drifting from what you actually want to work on.
Hmm.
So that's a hard thing to maintain and balance. And like, what is your best tip when it comes to handling balance, social life, extracurriculars, and just not like studying for 12 hours a day and becoming a better student that way?
Mm. Yeah, that's a good question. Because what I've always learned is there's no such thing as ultimate balance.
Yeah,
Because when your exam periods are coming up, you're going to work a bit harder, right? However, you could give yourself some space in that exam period to also do your workouts, maybe do your social activities, if you already put in that work kind of in advance. So if I'm doing something new with the company, well, yeah, it can be that we're pushing really hard for a whole month and everything is hard. But after that, we also make sure that we take some time off. Next week, I'm going on a skiing trip, just to relax a bit. And
yeah,
well, during school time, you have your holidays and you have your also your time off. So you just make use of them, but do work in between and focus on that goal, so that in your exam periods you're already prepared. Like the only thing you need to do is do revisions, repetitions, and then you won't have to study for 12 hours and pull all-nighters
yeah,
because you're already set.
yeah. And yeah. But how would you say, like, yeah, what would you say, like, is the key what do you say, like, key trait of the ambitious student that you coach?
Mm, the trait of the students, like they need to want it themselves.
Yeah.
If they show me the will, I'll give them the skill. That's always also a
Yeah.
phrase that we often use. But I can't, like they say you can drag a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink.
Yeah.
So what we do is, like, if the student is the horse, and like we say, okay, we can lead you and we can teach you. Here's the water, but you need to do it.
Yeah.
And the students that actually do the work, so that go outside of their comfort zone, that put in the action, they see the results. The students that don't, like I said, I'm also pretty strict, and I often say, like, hey man, if you can't commit to this, or it's not the
Yeah.
right time, or you're not willing to do it, I'm not going to continue.
Yeah. What would you say is, because we talked of the why before,
Yeah.
what would you say your why is with this coaching and your Instagram account
Yeah.
and everything around that?
Yeah. And I get that question a lot, and that is very simple. Like, my grades weren't good in high school either, and then when I went to my bachelor, I failed miserably. Basically, had a retake for all my courses. Was on the edge of not passing and going to the second year, which meant that I had to do and find a new studies.
Yeah.
But actually, the studies that I was doing was amazing. Like, I loved it. But there were just a couple courses that were really hard: anatomy and physiology, like about cardiovascular systems and all that. And I didn't have proper guidance back then. So my why is, like, I want to provide that guidance to the students who are struggling the same as I did, make it accessible for them to also pass their favorite studies that they are motivated for, by teaching them all these methods, if it's time management, if it's working on their mindset mainly, or these learning methods that have helped me, just to make sure that everyone gets the opportunity to go wherever they want to go.
Yeah, definitely. And I know you have a lot of students where the parents take part as well in helping them.
Mm-hmm.
I can imagine you get a lot of pressure from that as well. Maybe the parents have different ways of thinking and maybe wants you to act in a different way. Maybe is that the case?
No, funny enough, no.
Okay.
Yes, I do include the parents. So, for example, I catch up with the parents once or twice during the 3-month period, just to see if they see the change with their kid, with the student. And they say, like, nah, we kind of trust you in what you're doing, because it seems like you know what you're talking about, and
Yeah.
we see the results with other students. So that kind of gives confidence in what we do, and therefore that also gives confidence for the parents. And yeah, like, the only thing is, if the student doesn't get results, well, we need to have a conversation, like, why is that? Is that because they haven't been putting in the work? Is it simply because maybe they aren't mature enough yet to take things that seriously? Or is there something else? And then that's just an open conversation where I share my ideas and they share their ideas, and we talk about it.
Okay. Yeah. And I guess you have students that have gone past the 3-month period. Do you still keep in contact with them, and you still talk and see the results from there?
Yeah, I they often send me a text and be like, "Oh yeah, pass this," or "This went great." Um, it's also possible for students to extend their period after the 3 months if they feel like they need that. Um, and that happens occasionally, because, like I said, I want to give them as much value as possible within the 3 months and make sure that they can do it on themselves. It's quite the investment, and yeah, we just touch base every once in a while, see how things go, if they need any support with anything. And then sometimes I just send them some new free resources that we created to help them out. But yeah, it's really really cool to get those messages like a couple of weeks later or months later and be like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, this happened or this happened. Thank you so much. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a really fulfilling work. It feels like, and that's like should be motivating for you as well. And have you like learned something from your students? Have they like said something that you like are thinking like, oh, that is a great idea. I should look into that more.
there's so many things I learned from my students as well.
Yeah,
It can be no, it hasn't been much business related, to be honest, but regarding things that they would find helpful. It's like, hey, could you help me out with my scheduling? And then, well, they come up with an idea how I could help them out better. So, for example, that's how we came up with sharing Notion templates, or just simply sharing screenshots, or doing it live on the calls together, just sitting
yeah,
together and see how we can do it. And this has been a back and forth with all the students, and then over time we see that the service that we provide is getting better and better for every student, because we've been learning from, well, our personal experiences.
yeah, yeah. And do you see like a massive difference between now and you a year ago when it comes to
Yeah,
teaching your students?
yeah, 100%. um don't forget, like, I also had a an amazing coach that helped me with
Yeah,
also these ideas. So what most people don't know is I've been doing kind of education on how to run a company, how to coach, for 9 months, every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, for 1.5 hours. So adding that up, is almost 4 5 hours a week. And then over the course of 9 months is also helping me to personally
yeah,
grow and develop. So yeah, massive change.
yeah. Do you feel like it's worth it to have that sort of mentor and coach to get you even better?
100%.
Or yeah, would you do it even
Yeah.
more if you had the chance? Do you do lessons every day?
For myself,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So right now we are working together with a new program again, because they're going to teach us new things. And yeah, I'm like, this is a 1 year program. After that 1 year, I'll probably be looking into, well, kind of like what will help me from there on forward again, because it's providing so much value in whatever stage you are in life. Like I said, go to the gym if you want to do it properly. Get a personal trainer, and you'll see results in 2 or 3 months, much faster than figuring it out on yourself.
yeah, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Have you had any students who have gotten so good results in like a month so that they stopped working for 3 months?
No, because we always, it's minimum 3 months, because
Okay,
there's so
yeah,
many things we can work on.
yeah, yeah,
So if they get a hand of the time management and the learning methods, I dive into them with personal reflection, self development, mindset thing. I'm now getting students into the meditations, stress
okay, yeah,
management. So there's always something to do with them, to say so.
yeah. Well, what is your favorite method on how to manage stress? Since you probably have a lot on your plate, I feel like you should have a good
Mm,
technique to figure that out because it's a hard thing, especially for students to handle.
yeah. What I found over my personal years as a student as well, is it starts with structure and overview.
Yeah,
um, because stress is being caused if you are unclear or unsure about things that need to happen or that you need to do, and you're imagining things in the future that might go wrong, and that causes these feelings of anxiety and stress and all that. So helping yourself out with just a solid calendar, a schedule, but also schedule time for indeed doing some breath work or meditation, exercise. It provides so much clarity that, yeah, I do experience stress on an occasional basis. Like, I'm also a human.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
learning how to deal with it in different ways. So also journaling. If I'm a lot in my head, I'm negative thoughts, I start writing them down. Like, all kind of things I've learned over the years that now come in handy in like a toolbox that you open whenever which situation occurs.
yeah. I mean, that's something I think students don't really think about. That some productivity tips and stress management tips that they can use for their everyday life and not just for their studies.
Hmm.
It's maybe even more important using them in their like outside life. Um, so yeah, that is something that everyone should work on, even if you're not
Absolutely.
studying. I would say it's yeah super important.
Absolutely, absolutely. What do you use? Because you're still in high school, right?
Yeah, yeah. Last year.
How do you manage that? Because high school, I know it's like lots of exams and all that.
Yeah. So I actually do every day before I go to sleep. I do a to-do list. It's actually right there if you see. That is on my table. Um, and I also do like time blocking. Um, so I block every single thing that I have to do. I block them out in the calendar, and then I just do them. So for example, this, I have a block for this, um, so I can just focus on this for this hour.
Yep.
And I feel like that is the best way of handling stress, because stress is just uncertainty, I would say. And if you really just make it to something um, of substance, it helps a lot. But also meditation as well. Um, Everything like surrounding breathing and mindfulness is good. Like, it will never hurt to do meditation. Like, it's only good for you.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, that's something
Yeah,
I would
I love that, man. And I
recommend.
also like, again, I want to emphasize that you're 18, right? From our last
Yeah,
conversation. Yeah,
yeah,
being 18, I wish I was that far developed with these type of skills. So like, I only want to encourage you to continue with whatever you're doing
yeah. Thank
and
you, man.
improve it and get better at it, because like, you'll go places, man. You'll go
Yeah,
places,
yeah,
I'm sure.
yeah. You too. And it's fun to be. I think you agree with this. It's fun to be part of social media. That's a good part of social media. Like, um, we both, and I feel like you should think it's fulfilling as well, that the content that you produce isn't just dopamine producing. It's actual valuable content that tries to make people better. uh, so yeah, are you happy with the style of the niche you are in, or would you change if you had the chance to?
um I'm super happy with the group that I'm helping right now,
Yeah,
because it is basically me 5 years ago. But it's also what I've found really interesting. It's also students like 30, 31,
yeah,
32
yeah,
that have these challenges and they've never learned about it. So I'm still also impacting people much older than me, which I find is super cool. Um, and I think like in a couple of years, I might switch the field that I'm working in, depending on how things go. Because then I'm older as well. I have experience in different fields, so I might do more into business consulting or coaching in that way. But yeah, I'm not sure about that. Or I really love outdoor sports.
yeah,
So I would like to set up a business where I guide for example, CEOs, CFOs, people who have really stressful lives, with outdoor activities on how to manage that and how to handle that better. So that I combine my passion for outdoor sports and kind of coaching and teaching what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, that sounds like a super cool idea.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of CEOs and like high up people, they need to learn that. So yeah, I know you have a call, another coaching call in 4 minutes. So it's maybe good to wrap this up now. But it's been a pleasure talking with you. And you need to keep killing it because it's going so well, and it's only up from here, I feel. So yeah, keep smashing it, and thank you for joining this call.
Thank you so much, Eric, and same goes for you, man. I'm wishing you all the best, and I hope we stay in touch, maybe for future collaborations.
Yeah,
And yeah, it's cool that you guys reached out to me, you and Sam. Got to know you better, because like we are in the same field, we share the same kind of mission, just helping out as many students as possible.
yeah,
I think you're doing an amazing job. And like I said, being an entrepreneur at that age and just taking the action, doing the things, also only way is up for you, man.
yeah. Oh, thank you, man. And thank you guys for listening to this podcast episode. It's been a pleasure. So yeah, bye.